Research shows that the average manager spends up to 80% of his or her time communicating with other people. Research also shows, however, that one of the most common reasons for managerial failure is poor communication. Clearly, something is very wrong with this picture. In this session, Nido Qubein shares how leaders can take their communication to a higher level. Nido Qubein has served as chairman of 4 different companies in diverse fields and is president of a major university. He has also authored more than 24 top-selling books and is a popular platform speaker. Listen as Nido Qubein explains how to communicate at a higher level.
Communication Plus, how to develop connected relationships. Do you communicate with people, or do you really connect with people? One gets us the results that we want, really want, effectively, constantly, consistently. The other merely exchanges messages with people. So which one are you a master of? Do you communicate with people, which is a wonderful, wonderful skill to have? Or do you really connect with people, which is a magnificent behavioral skill that leads to extraordinary leadership capacity? You see, connecting is understanding someone so well, understanding the words and the meanings and the feelings that they have. It's almost knowing what their fears are, what their wishes are, what their aspirations are, what their needs are. That's why we call it connecting. Connecting is more than just exchanging words. It's about connecting with messages, the real meaning of the messages. Now, communicating is the art of speaking and listening and observing and writing. We say if you know how to speak, if you know how to listen, if you know how to observe, and you know how to write, then you are an effective communicator. That does not necessarily make you an effective connector with other human beings. So let's evaluate what I just said. If I were to take a ball, like a beach ball, and throw it at you, you would catch it. You would catch it because it's just a ball coming at you. You'll catch it. But what if I picked up a ball and threw it at you, then picked up another ball and threw it at you, and picked up another ball and threw it at you? What would happen? You'll catch one, but you can't get all of them. And that's sometimes what you and I do when we communicate with people. When we speak with people, we throw stuff at them. Sometimes a leader in a meeting with his or her team just stands there and just dumps information on these people, and then we wonder why they don't act on it in the way we want them to act on it. No connectivity, no connecting takes place when we're just throwing balls one after the other. We have to space the balls. Throw one, have you catch it, put it down, then we throw the next one. We begin to connect with people more when we do that. Listening is like that too. It's easy for us to hear, it's very hard for us to listen. Let me see if I can test you this morning. Imagine for a moment that you are a bus driver. Listen carefully now. It is your mission to drive your bus, listen, due north 4.4 kilometers, due south 3.3 kilometers, due east 2.2 kilometers, and due west 1.1 kilometer. Question for you. How old is the bus driver? If you know the answer, raise your right hand. Well, I have 3 or 4. That's not bad. For the rest of you, let me repeat the question again. Here's what I said. Imagine for a moment that you are a bus driver. And I said, it's your mission to drive whose bus? Your bus. And everything I said after that was useless, meaningless information. How many of you now know how old the bus driver is? Sure. Because when we listen, we grasp the information and we can respond to it. Observing is the third of those basic skills, if you will, of communicating. Observing. Let me see if I can test you again. Would you free your right hand for just a moment? Take your right hand in front of you like this. Index finger and a thumb. Make me an O, like Campbell alphabet soup O. Do exactly as I say, do as quickly as I say, do it. Please bring your hand very quickly to your head. Great, to your chest. Marvelous, to your back. Fantastic, to your right leg. Terrific, to your chin. Freeze, do not move. Freeze, freeze. What did I say? Chin, 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 chin. Right? I had a person the other day in my audience, and I said to them, I said to your chin, and this happened to be a lady, she had her hand right here. I said, ma'am, I said to your chin. She said, I had a facelift. This is my chin. So we say speaking, listening, observing, and the last one is writing. I wonder if you can write the statement for me on the piece of paper in front of you. And the statement is, woman without her man is nothing. Now don't react just yet. Listen to my instructions. You have 2 commas and 1 full stop. Would you please punctuate the statement for me using 2 commas and 1 full stop? Woman without her man is nothing. All right, let me guess. Some of you wrote down, woman, comma, without her man, comma, is nothing, period. Honestly, how many of you did it that way? Yes, that would be normal. And in this context, it means a woman is nothing unless she has a man. But some of you, I'll bet, wrote down woman, comma, without her, comma, man is nothing. Anyone? Good for you. Here's my point. This statement means 2 different things. The meaning changes 100% based on what? 1 tiny little comma. Moved 1 word up. So the power lies in your hand to speak, listen, observe, or write effectively. But today we're not just talking about that. We're saying that connecting is the skill of using speaking and listening and observing and writing. Connecting is taking those basic skills of communicating a step beyond. It's intended to really understand why people say what they say and why people do what they do. Now, traits of managers and leaders who really connect effectively are many. Let me just share with you today a few of them. Number 1, they are open. If you want to connect with people, you must be open. You must be open-minded. You must give people the privilege and the right to express themselves. Number 2, they are sincere. They have authenticity more than they have charisma. They're honest, thoughtful, trustworthy people. Number 3, they are direct. They tell you what they're thinking and they accept from you what you're thinking. Number 4, they are respectful. They accept what you say and they regard it to be the truth as you understand it. And number 5, they are interested. They're interested in building teams. They're interested in making good things come to be. The skills of managers, not just the traits, but the skills of managers and leaders who really know how to connect effectively are these. Number 1, they organize their thoughts before they speak. They think first, they speak second. Do you know that often when I'm making a telephone call, I will not even make the call until I take a pad and a pen and I write down on it some of the important points I want to get across to the person I'm calling. And I find when I do that, I organize my thoughts, I understand what their needs and their wishes and their frame of reference is, and I connect with them at a much better level. I ask myself this question: what message do I really want to send? What is that message that I want to send? I ask myself this question: how do I want people to feel when they hear this message? How do I want them to feel? And then the most important one of all, what do I want them to do? What do I want them to do? What message do I want to get across? How must they feel so they will do what I want them to do? In other words, think with the end in mind. Think about the action you want people to perform, if you will, and design what you say in a way that you can really connect with them. Number 2, extraordinary leaders who know how to connect seek to understand the purpose of the other person's communication. When somebody else is communicating with you, ask yourself these questions. What is the purpose of their communication? Is it simply to engage in small talk about the weather or about some sports event? Is it to vent emotions? Are they just sort of venting emotions about some area of concern in their department or with their team? Is it to share information? They're attempting to share with you information about the projects they're working on. Or is it to persuade? They're trying to get you to persuade you in a certain perspective so you can think in a certain way and do what it is they want you to do. Ask this question: what is the speaker's purpose? This other person with whom I'm communicating and connecting, what is their purpose? Ask yourself this question: what is my purpose in listening to the speaker? What is their purpose in speaking to me? And why is it important for me to listen to them? When you understand their purpose, you understand your purpose, magic takes place. Connectivity begins to happen. Number 3, extraordinary leaders who know how to connect with other people get right to the point. They understand that brevity is so important. And so they recognize that clarity, not confusion, is the name of the game. We must be clear if we want people to connect with us. Our message must be stated thoroughly, briefly, and clearly. Number 4, effective leaders who connect well translate what they say into benefits. This is really, really important. They translate what they say into benefits. Let me ask you a simple question. Why do you buy an insurance policy? When you buy insurance, why do you buy insurance? Are you willing to exchange your hard-earned money for a piece of paper called an insurance policy? Of course not. You don't buy insurance so you can get the policy. You buy insurance because of the byproducts of that insurance policy. What you want is the safety and the security and the peace of mind that you'll have for you, your family, and your future. The product of the product. So when you attempt to connect with someone, always ask this question: how can I translate what I'm saying into ways that they can find useful? Remember, given their fears, their needs, their wishes, their aspirations. That we call the product of the product. You see, a product of a car in and of itself is just a car. But the product of the car is transportation or prestige, right? The product of the product. So when I'm saying something to you, if I really want to connect with you, I must ask myself this question: what's in it for you? What's the benefit to you? What's the product of this product? And the more I can translate that into ways that you understand and that you find tremendous value in, the closer, the better, and the longer we'll be connected in terms of this particular message. And number 5, extraordinary leaders who know how to connect, not merely communicate effectively, ask questions. They ask a lot of questions. They perhaps ask more questions than they make statements. Questions like these: what do you think? What do you think about this? What is your opinion? They ask questions like, how do you feel about this? How does this make you feel? When connecting with someone is absent, in other words, when we don't really connect, resistance takes over. Let me illustrate to you what I mean. Let's play a little game. I'm going to give you about 2 or 3 seconds to find someone sitting next to you or behind you to become your partner. I'm going to give you about 3 seconds, and I'll count just like you count when you jump from an airplane to parachute, and we'll see how fast you can do this. Here we go. 3,000, 2,000, 1,000. Find your partner. Okay. Now that you have your partner, you did that very, very well. Now that you have your partner, I'm going to give you 3 seconds to decide in this dyad, in this group of 2, who's going to be number 1 and who's going to be number 2. And I'm counting 3,000. Now, the way that you picked who's going to be number 1 and who's going to be number 2 tells us a lot about you clinically. I know what some of you did. Some of you looked at your partner and you said, I'll be number 1. I've always been number 1 and you're not changing my mind today. Some of you looked at your partner and you said, you be number 1. As if to say, Royal Highness bestow upon you the privilege of being number 1, right? And hopefully none of you said, oh please, I've always been a number 2 kind of person. Don't confuse me today. Okay. Number 1, where are you? Number 1, where are you? Let me see. Number 1, excellent. Number 1. Number 1. Okay? Number one, if you will open up both of your hands like this. Number one. Excellent. And face your partner to the extent that you can. Number two, open up your hands like this. Excellent. Number one, listen to my instructions, please. Number one, please gently, softly, kindly place your hands on number two's hands. Excellent. Number one, I'm talking to you. Now push as hard as you can on number two. Push as hard as you can. Show us the depth of your strength, number one. Go for it. Go for it. Come on. Number one, come on. Let me see. Go for it. Excellent. Excellent. Okay, hands down. Look back at me. Some of you have some real vented anger. Wow. Okay. Now let me just ask you a couple of simple questions. Number one, did I give you instructions as to what to do? Yes or yes? Yes. I make my questions very easy. The answer is yes. Number two, did I give you instructions as to what to do in response to number one? No or no? No. What did you do, number two? You resisted. Did I tell you to resist? No. Why did you resist? Anyone tell me, why did you resist?
That's what's expected.
Natural behavior.
Yeah.
It's natural behavior. Oh, no. It's not really natural behavior, is it? Natural behavior, let me give you an example. You come in your kitchen, someone left the stove on, you don't know it's on, you put your hand on the stove by mistake, it's hot. What do? Do you remove your hand or do you amputate your arm? The answer is obvious, you remove your hand. Why? It's reflex. It's natural behavior. But resistance is not necessarily natural behavior. There are people in our world who do not resist, who simply let go, let be. Now, in the context of business, when someone makes a statement about something, we have a choice to accept it, to listen to it, to ask what is the purpose of the speaker, what is my purpose in listening, or to say, this does not add up with what I believe, and therefore, I'm going to resist it. Now, what happened when you resisted? Number two, were you number two?
Yes.
Okay, and you resisted number one, right?
Yes.
And when you resisted number one, what did you find number one doing?
Push harder.
Push harder. Now, you pushed back, you resisted to keep the other person from pushing you over. But what did that make the other person go? I now will make sure you die. Right? So the very thing, the very behavior you did not want was actually inviting more of the same behavior. And when she said, I'm going to push harder, what did that make you do? Push harder. So you push harder, she pushes harder, you push harder, and where will this end? Anyone?
Badly.
Badly, yes. Where will this end? Well, when somebody what? Somebody wins and somebody loses. Question for all of us. Can you and I possibly connect with people when one wins and one loses? Who would want to connect with us if that means in the process they're going to lose? See, here's my view. In any connecting relationship, we can only have win-win relationship. Win-lose means lose-lose. Lose-win means lose-lose. The only real relationship for connecting is win-win. So when you resisted, you invited more of the same, and the only way this exercise would come to an end is when someone loses, not the desired outcome in either communicating or in connecting. So the whole notion here is, it's difficult to connect when we resist. It's difficult to connect when we don't understand. It's difficult to connect when we don't build a bridge of understanding from where the other person is to where we are. Our tendency is to want to build a bridge of understanding from where we are to where they are. You know what I believe? I believe that our responsibility as leaders, as managers of other human beings, is to always listen more, to always care more, to always commit ourselves to greater capacity of connecting. That's why they call us leaders. Now, to connect, therefore, is to follow what I call the law of identification. And the law of identification basically says, when something becomes personal, it then becomes important. So if you want me to pay attention to what you're telling me, you must make what you're saying personal to me. If you talk about, for example, my family, my life, my health, my financial condition, all personal issues to me, I pay attention to you. But if you're talking about some academic discussion about only the product, instead of talking about the product of the product, we may not connect exactly the same way. Remember this, facts tell, but emotions sell. We are human beings, and we should always ask this question: how must this person feel first? So this person will do what I want him to do. Now, leaders who connect focus on these three important questions. Number one, why should people do business with me? Given choices, why should people do business with me? Why me? Now, when I say do business with me, I mean, why should they follow my advice? Why should they buy my product? Why should they be on my team? Why should they execute on this project like I've asked them to execute? Besides, of course, fear of losing a job or losing some kind of support. I'm talking about in a much more dynamic and a much more behaviorally sound and balanced perspective. Why should people do business with me? What is different about me and what is better about me? Second question, how easily can someone else imitate what I do? The easier it is for someone else to imitate what I do, the less valuable by definition I become. And perhaps the most important question of all, when someone else needs what I offer, when someone else needs what I have to offer, whether it is a leadership capacity, it's a thinking process, or it's a product that we're selling, when someone else needs what I have to offer, will they think of me first? Will they think of me second? Will they think of me at all? How sad it would be if you and I were experts at what we do, but no one in our organization acknowledges that. They don't come to us when they want a solution to that problem because they don't realize that we are the conduit, the source for that solution. So connecting means making sure other people understand what we offer. It's understanding someone so well that we know their words, yes, but also the meanings and the feelings behind the words. Understanding their fears and their wishes and their needs and their aspirations. Connecting with people means we know why people say what they say. And more importantly, as leaders, we know why people do what they do. So do not settle for communicating effectively. As important as that skill is, choose today, begin today to commit, to connect with people, and look and assess the dramatic results, powerful, positive results that you will be able to get.